Hi YouTube, this is Derek, and I'm going to talk about the Orioles today. Um, they are my favorite team, and I am planning on doing a preview of all 30 teams, but I'm going to start with the one I root for and the one I follow the closest, the Orioles. And I guess we'll start off by just talking about what happened last year, and really the past 3 years for the Orioles, which is winning, and that's a very exciting and new thing to me, considering I've only been following them since 2005. But the past 3 years have been awesome, and they've been exciting, and they've had a lot of great memories that come along with them. But also a lot of good luck for the Orioles as a team, because like 2012, they won basically because their bullpen was good and they got lucky in one-run games. And then 2013, they had a winning record basically because Chris Davis hit 53 home runs. And then last year, they just got lucky with guys like Steve Pearce and then Nelson Cruz signing and coming out of nowhere, hitting 40 home runs, and the bullpen being excellent again, which is in Major League Baseball is sort of fluky from year to year, it seems. And of course, everybody except Jimenez was either average or slightly above average in starting rotation. So if you have a good bullpen and that kind of starting rotation, you can win with that. And of course, they hit a lot of home runs too. That helps. But of course, now that we've talked about the past, time to talk about this offseason, which on the surface looked pretty shitty, actually, if you're an Orioles fan. Man, we lost Nelson Cruz, we lost Markakis, longtime fan favorite. Andrew Miller, he was awesome 3 or 4 months we had him. He's gone. Nick Hundley, shit. Wow. The Orioles are gonna suck again. And I disagree with that. Because, well, Cruz, he's not going to hit 40 home runs again. No way. That was a career year for him. He's never really been that good of a hitter. He's been an all-star level hitter. He hits decently. He's like a 260, 30 type of guy, but he's not going to hit the 40 home runs and be that big of a difference maker usually. And Markakis, while he is one of my favorite players of all time, the past 2 or 3 years he's been pretty mediocre. And the combination of Travis Snyder, who we got traded for, I think, and Steve Pearce and Delman Young will probably make up for his loss. Even though there may be a slight drop in production, but it's not going to be that drastic, really, because Markakis really hasn't been that great the past couple of years. And Miller, well, we only had him for 3 months, so and the bullpen's pretty fluky. You could suck this year, so and Hundley's pretty mediocre. And we should get at least 4 or 5 months of Matt Wieters, so that will get a few wins for us this year. Because Hundley's really not that good, but I did grow to like him over the course of last season. And yeah, I guess I'll talk about the additions. I already mentioned Travis Snyder, and I like him. I think he's going to be a very good hitter. He's a lefty hitter, and I think he's really good against righties, so I'm pretty sure that there's probably going to be a platoon with probably him and Delman Young, because Delman Young's righty and hits lefties really good, so I'm going to imagine it's going to be a platoon out there. I don't know if they're going to play him in the field, or if it's going to be a DH situation, or what's going to go on there. And of course Steve Pearce too, huh? I mean, it's up in the area. No one really knows, but I think there's a lot of options out there in right field that really is going to be that much of a detraction from Markakis. And they signed Cabrera, who used to play for the Padres, and just 2 years ago, in 2013, he made an All-Star team. So I think if Scope, however you say it, I have a hard time pronouncing his name. If he sucks, I mean, he was great. He's a great player defensively, but he has like a 200, like 250, like 350 slash line. That's just horrendous. I don't really care how good of a defensive player you are. That's unacceptable. So, I mean, even Ryan Flaherty is better than that. But if he can be a utility guy and hopefully maybe even play second base, I don't know how much experience he has at second base. But, I mean, if he can play shortstop, he can probably play second base. Shortstop's the most difficult position to play in the infield, so moving over to second, you should be able to adjust to that. He's a professional athlete. He should be able to do that. And I think he could. I mean, it's not that wild of a projection there. Fuck. And then he was the other, oh yeah, Reimold. They signed him again for a minor league deal, and I've always liked him. So I think if we need an extra outfielder, I mean, he could produce. He's been a weird player in his career, and I think I mean, he's not going to be an all-star or anything, but I think he could provide some pop off the bench and be a solid hitter, even though he's not going to light things up. I mean, that won't happen. And then Aaron Sebia is the other guy they signed, who kind of sucks, but whatever. Maybe he'll hit 20 home runs or something. He's done it before, and if something weird happens, if Wieters gets injured again, or Chris Davis sucks horribly and hits 200 and has no power again. Well, he had power last year, but I'm just saying, like, if it's just absolute disaster over there, I guess they could stick him there. Although he's not that good, and I think Chris Davis will do better than he did last year. And then here's going to be the I'm going to do a position by position, catcher, first base, so on and so on. And at catcher, I think Wieters is going to come back. He said he might be ready by opening day. I'm skeptical about that, though. He'll probably be back sometime in mid-April, early May, and I think he'll do what he's done most of his career and play solid defense at 250 and hit somewhere between 20 and 28 home runs. And be solid, especially for a catcher, which is usually one of the lower offensive positions as far as production goes. And then the backup prop, I'm gonna guess, is going to be Caleb Joseph, who impressed me. He was, especially defensively, throwing out runners. He was awesome last year, and he'll probably be a solid backup. And I think he will. I hope he gets the backup spot. I like him. And at first base, of course, you have Chris Davis, who I think will be around the same player he was in 2012. And that was the year before the big monster year. That year he broke out and he hit like 250, 260, and had 32 home runs, I think, and drove in like 80-something runs. And I think that's probably what we'll get out of him this year. I don't think he's going to be the MVP type player he was in 2013, but I don't think he's going to be below the Mendoza line little horrible player he was last year. And he has one game remaining on suspension too, so he'll miss the first game in Tropicana. But oh well. And at second, something I've already touched on: Scope, Flaherty, Cabrera, maybe. I'm gonna guess that they're gonna have Scope start the season, but and I'm hoping he's a young player. Hopefully he'll progress and he'll be able to hit more, and that'll make up, or it'll make it a little easier to keep him in the lineup. I mean, even though, I mean, his glove's gonna keep him in the lineup if they don't mind the horrible hitting that he has, but if they get sick of that, they have two other options that are solid players. Flaherty, I like him. He's a solid player. I mean, in a backup role, utility guy. He's a very solid player. And Cabrera, there's a lot of question marks with him, obviously. He got caught for PEDs, but maybe he'll be this year's Nelson Cruz and he'll produce coming off a PED suspension. This like Cruz was 2014. I don't think he's going to hit 40 home runs, which, I mean, he's never going to hit 40 home runs, but, well, his equivalent may be stealing 40 or 50 bases. Maybe he'll do that. I don't know. It'd be pretty awesome if he did. Although I don't expect him to. I don't think he'll have enough playing time. Even if he is really awesome. Yeah, I think of those three positions, I think there's question marks in each position, really. But I think all three of them will, or at least the first two, catcher and first base, we'll see good production of Davis and Wieters and Joseph. The second, I'm not sure. That's probably our weakest position, second, especially offensively. And, let's see, shortstop, got J.J. Hardy. He's pretty awesome, awesome defender. And last year his power dropped. He only hit 9 home runs, but I think he had some sort of injury, wrist injury or something, if I remember correctly, and that sapped his power a little bit, and he hit for a higher average, so maybe he'll hit 15 home runs and hit 260 instead of hitting 25 and hitting 240 or 230. Hopefully. Although, I mean, it's whatever. I mean, it's shortstop. That's a defensive position. If he goes out there and plays great defense and occasionally hits a home run, that's basically, or maybe hits 250 and hits 10, 15 home runs, I'd be fine with that. I mean, he is on the wrong side of 30 in all, so my projections on him are kind of low, to be honest. But he's still going to be a solid player, no doubt. And then, moving over to third base, Machado, who I think is going to have a great year this year. Last year he had injuries and controversy throwing bats at people, and actually statistically he was actually pretty close to what he did 2013 on just like a rate basis. Like his OPS and his OPS plus are pretty similar to the 2013. He just didn't get the counting stats like the doubles and the RBIs and stuff like that. He was still pretty solid last year, and he's a just outstanding defender, so I don't think you really count that out. Really, almost everywhere there's decent, good defenders. It seems like on the Orioles, which is something I know Buck Schultz really values as a manager. And yeah, I'm excited to watch Manny Machado. On a personal note, he's awesome. I like him. He's one of my favorite players nowadays, especially now that Marquez is gone. I don't have him, so Machado is probably my favorite player now. Now left field, I'm gonna assume is going to be Alejandro Diaz. I have a hard time pronouncing that one too. It's the only person I know with the name Alejandro. And yeah, he's all right. He has some speed. He'll hit maybe 270, 280, and be solid. It's about what he did with the White Sox when he was decent. He's not special, but he'll play there, and maybe David Lowe will play there too. He was all right last year. He really wasn't that good, but he's good defensively. So maybe if Diaz sucks defensively, we'll see Lowe out there. And I know he can steal some bases. He's pretty fast. So yeah, left field's kind of boring. Not really any great players to speak of out there. And then center field, the face of the franchise. I'm gonna guess that most people would say that Adam Jones is the face of the Orioles, the new good Orioles, and I think he's gonna do what he's done past 3 years and basically play pretty good defense and hit 280 and draw 10 walks and hit 30 home runs. That's what Jones does, and I expect him to do it again. He's proven that he's consistent, and he's been able to stay healthy the past 3 or 4 years, and he's been a lot of fun to watch, and he's been one of the better players in the league. And that's basically all that really have to say about him. And then out in right field, I already really discussed this a lot, actually, earlier. I mean, Snyder and Pierce and Delman Young and all those guys, probably, if you piece them together and do, platoon them, it should be pretty close to what Marquez did last year. So, maybe a little bit down defensively, but that's really it. Marquez hasn't been anything special the past 3 years. So, yeah, that's my opinion. So, and then, I guess, like, utility and all that stuff, like the utility role and the fourth outfielder. I already touched on that. Steve Pierce will probably be either the DH or the utility guy, kind of, because I know he can play outfield and he played first base. I don't know if he played anywhere else. I'm trying to think, but yeah, I don't think he's going to be as good as he was last year. I mean, that's very unrealistic to think he's going to be as outstanding as he was last year, because I think that was pretty. I think it's pretty universally understood that he's not going to be one of the better hitters in the league for maybe half a season's worth of at bats. It's very unrealistic, but I think he could be. I think he's going to be solid. I think he found a good way to hit, different way to hit, and I like him. He's a player I like to watch. Yeah, because he was really awesome last year, duh. And the other outfielders, like the fourth outfielders, you got Delman Young and I said his name like 5 times already. David Lowe. They're pretty good. Good. I mean, as long as Delman Young doesn't see the field too much, I think they're good. Because he's good, especially against lefties. He's really good. And I guess like a backup infielder, we have. I'm gonna assume Flaherty and Cabrera are gonna be there, and I already talked about them, so I don't need to get into them anymore. And I guess talk about the pitching, which is one of the big reasons why the Orioles were good last year. That starting pitching, so slightly above average. I mean, that's how you would describe it. I mean, they don't have the only guy that's probably maybe a notch above guys like Norris and Gonzalez and Chen is Tillman. I mean, you could argue that maybe he's an all-star type player, the pitcher, and I think he has made the all-star team already. But for the most part, this Orioles rotation is pretty average, just slightly above average. I mean, you look at Norris and Chen and Gonzalez, and hopefully Jimenez will be around there this year. He was awful last year, but yeah, their rotation is solid. It's nothing spectacular. You don't have David Price or Clayton Kershaw in it, but you have a bunch of pretty solid guys, and that's really all I have to say about it. And I think Kevin Gausman could be a all-star type pitcher. He's impressed me from what I've seen him so far, and he's really young. So maybe this year or 2016 he'll be a all-star level pitcher, maybe a Cy Young type pitcher. Hoping. I'm not expecting that, but it'd be awesome if he did, right? And the most how do you want to describe it? Fluky, year-to-year type thing of any baseball team is the bullpen. Last year, the Orioles' bullpen was phenomenal. It was lights out. I mean, Britton sort of came out of nowhere and became a elite closer, and O'Day did what he did, and we got Miller, who's not on the team anymore, unfortunately, but his stint here was awesome. He was a lot of fun to watch. That big 6'8" lefty, or however tall, he's really fucking tall. But this year, I mean, it's hard to project a bullpen, but I think they'll be solid in there. I mean, as long as Britton and Britton's basically the new Jim Johnson, and O'Day's been doing what O'Day does, and the other guys in there will be alright, and hopefully someone in their crop of Tommy Hunters and Brian Mattises and jeez, who else? McFarlane, I think his name is. I can't think of his name right now. But one of those guys hopefully will step up and replace Miller, his production that we had in the last 3 months of the season. And now time for my record prediction, and I think the Orioles are going to win 88 games this year and finish in one of the 2 wildcard spots. I think that the Red Sox are going to win the division this year. They improved their roster tremendously, and last year was kind of a down year for a lot of their players, and kind of bad luck that they were that bad. I mean, just 2 years ago they won the World Series. So I think they're going to be a 90-plus win team this year. And I think the Blue Jays will have competition, but they're probably going to be in the low 80s in wins, and the Rays and Yankees are going to be around 500. Not spectacular. So, yeah, I'm really excited for the season to start. April 6th for the Orioles, April 5th for opening night. Every day it gets closer and closer, and I know all you baseball fans out there are excited as me, so have a good day, and thanks for watching, everybody.